The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order. The Reels of Justice is now in session. Judge Ryan, this is supposed to be torture, not therapy. Luis Rodriguez presiding. We all rise for the Honorable Judge Rodriguez.
Be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice. Today we are hearing the case of The People vs. Hudson Hawk, a 1991 adventure comedy about a recently paroled cat burglar who gets coerced into stealing the works of Leonardo da Vinci to facilitate a world domination plot. For those of you unfamiliar with our court proceedings, we are here to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. As always, in this courtroom, films are to be considered excellent until proven awful, and the burden of proof lies upon the prosecution to prove beyond a shadow of a reasonable doubt that this film is guilty. Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, you're appearing on behalf of the prosecution. You may present your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. You know, there's a part of me that actually loves this movie. But wait, I can hear Ryan saying, you're prosecuting. And indeed I am. But it's because this movie is bad that I love it. For you see, it was the summer of 2008, and I was a younger, thinner man that recently captured the attention and affections of a coworker. And one flirtation led to another, and I won't bore the court or excite Ben with the details, but the first time we hung out outside of work, we watched Hudson Hawk. Our profound disinterest in this dreck of a movie led to a much more interesting night for me. So here it comes now, some 14 years later. Hudson
you can't
Hawk
stop talking about it.
Rearing its head again in my life, and I salute it. I welcome it into our court, and I say thank you for being such a bad movie.
Thank you, Mr. Schlender. Appearing on behalf of the defense is Mr. Kevin Smith. Please present your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor, Mr. Turncoat. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I know your time is precious, so I promise to be brief today.
It's not.
But that's also because... That's fair. But I will be to the point and try to be brief about it. I only wish to pose two very simple questions to you today. What is a bad movie?
Hudson
And
Hawk.
why is my client, Hudson Hawk, being accused of such? We live in a world today where cinema is completely rehashed, recycled garbage with no soul. Even your so-called good movies are made not from an artistic point of view, but rather a financial estimate from a marketing department from a studio's parent company. Movies are made by people who don't even care about art. How could good filmmakers not consider movies an art form? That's where Hudson Hawk was one of the last few films that was made by a group of artists simply because they wanted to make a movie together. With no intention of it being good, bad, or indifferent, they wanted to make a movie that was fun. Where does the movie come up bad? Nowhere. The defense rests.
No, don't rest yet.
Okay, so we're done? We get to go home? Yay!
I'm sitting down to rest. I'm not...
He's literally taking the load off, I see.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Schlender, you may proceed with your first exhibit.
I mean, I just think it's funny that he mentions, parent companies and their diabolical schemes. I mean, this was put out by TriStar, which is owned by Sony. Anywho.
Objection, Your Honor. TriStar was not owned by Sony at that point. It was because of Hudson Hawk that Sony did purchase it.
Wait, is that
Sustained.
true?
Is
Yes.
that true? Then Wikipedia is wrong, because I just looked it up while you were talking about it.
Balls.
Anyone could put information up there. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
no, that's
How could it be
true. That's
wrong?
true. All right, so It's yet to be seen. So the first thing we need to address is how completely inessential the titular character Hudson Hawk is to the actual plot. There is no element of this movie that actually requires him. I know that's a bold thing to say, but let me explain. The first robbery of stealing the horse figurine could have been completed by the CIA agents. As we see later in the movie, the CIA agents broke into the auction house to set up little cameras to record Hudson Hawk, and they even replaced the horse after he stole it. So they literally got into the safe that Hawk allegedly needed to get into. And we also know that these CIA agents could have robbed the Vatican, which would be the next robbery when they steal when Hudson Hawk steals the book codex. So we have the horse that could have been stolen by the CIA. We have the book codex that could have been stolen by the CIA. And how do we know the CIA could have robbed the Vatican? Because Kit Kat tells Hudson Hawk to look out for the blue wire. They have already scoped the place out, and they are ready to move in the event Hawk fails. And to just add more gas on that fire, the CIA agents actually do rob the Louvre later in the movie. So now they say they didn't do it elegantly and that guards had to die and all that and pish posh mishmash, but the fact is they did it. So why is Hawk even there? Now you might say he's being used as a patsy or a fall guy, and we got lucky because despite his bungling, that is to say, not wearing gloves, leaving DNA at the crime scenes, and singing loudly, he was not captured, even though the security guards could have easily have made a positive ID on him. And oh my God, someone tried to rob an auction house the day after the most famous cat burglar in the world got paroled. Maybe we could, put a lineup together and let the guards identify him, and then dust for fingerprints and pin it on Hawk. But anyway, they didn't use him as a patsy because they covered up for him by replacing the horse. So they said it wasn't even a successful attempt. And what's interesting is this is Willis's only screenwriting attempt for a major motion picture, and it's easy to see why. The action I just described is remarkably flat. The characters are largely not interesting, and a lot of them actually seem very disinterested in what is happening. I think what we have here is Willis just wanted a picture where he could sing a few songs, and he does. And I gotta say, that's a pretty neat idea, but they only use it effectively once. And then when they do it at the end of the movie, it's actually not neat at all because they're just blowing stuff up and walking around anyway. So one of the neat things they had of timing heists and events to songs, they don't even use it very well. Hawk gets dragged along from scene to scene, and we are just as confused as he is. The movie makes a very deliberate homage to a movie like North by Northwest, James Coburn's character named after one of the characters in there, where we do indeed see a confused protagonist, but it just doesn't work in Hudson Hawk because Cary Grant in North by Northwest, he is supposed to be a fish out of water, whereas Willis's character is supposed to be competent. So the whole plot just really falls apart and struggles under the weight of its not even that heavy ideas.
Mr. Smith, is Hudson Hawk an essential character?
I would have to say yes, Mr. Hawk was an essential character. The gem at the end of the film would not have been able to be put together by anyone else. No one else.
I would like to object to that. What are they basing that on? It would have made much more sense if Andie MacDowell's character was the one who put the gem together because she was the expert on Da Vinci. All they said was, hey, we have like 3 or 4 pieces of a gem and we can't fit them together. You have to do it. Hawk had no expertise in putting gems together, and he puts it together, and then he shows that he actually didn't put it together. He held on to a piece. How the hell did the thing stay together? It's like the movie. It doesn't work. It doesn't stay together.
Well,
I'd like to give Mr. Smith a chance to rebut any of
Yeah,
that.
no, I'm sorry. I really went off on a tear there. Please proceed.
that's all very amusing to say. Very amusing to hear. But sleight of hand was one of his cat burglar tricks. We see that throughout the entire film. So it would stand to reason that, yes, he would have been able to slide that through his fingers, make it look like it was put together, and then cause an accident.
I just think it would have fallen apart as soon as he handed it off. I mean, what mechanism would make it stay together if it's incomplete in such a way that they wouldn't have been able to do that the night before?
Glue. You didn't see it.
Chewing gum.
You didn't see. He's a magician.
You know what?
You didn't see what was behind his fingers.
You know, I got to throw it to the jury there. What Ben just said, that would have been hilarious if he was chewing gum in that scene and then he used gum to stick the two pieces together. That would have been, I mean, that fixes, that's genius. It's funny. It works, but that's not what happened.
Yeah, I got nothing on that, Your Honor.
Any further exhibits, Mr. Schlender?
God, I should just rest on that, but unfortunately, there's so much more of this movie to talk about. You know, that's what's important about Reels of Justice, is we have to give terrible movies like this their day in court to be the final word. That way people don't watch it. So I want to talk about the tone. Everyone who listens to the show knows I love talking about the tone of movies because I think it goes to that intentionality, which again is something that we put a very heavy price on in this courtroom. And this tone is a mess because it's supposed to be a comedy. And I understand comedy is subjective, so I grant you that. But the movie is not taking itself seriously enough to the level of ultra-violence we see. We see throats being slit. We see two men shot in the head. We see a man blown up. And this surprisingly visceral violence does not work when you juxtapose it to then the cartoony violence we see, which is exemplified by Willis's final fight with James Coburn.
Objection, Your Honor. That's subjective also. I prefer my ultraviolence with my cartoon-like comedy.
I guess I'll sustain that, I guess.
Look, you can say it's subjective, but it's going to clash, you know? Like, there's probably people who like wearing, like, neon pink and chartreuse, and it's gonna clash, though. And these tones clash. It's very jarring as you're watching it. You can't get into the flow of the movie because you don't know if someone's going to get shot in the head. You don't know if a dog's going to get shot out the window, or you don't know if they're going to blow themselves up for laughs. You just don't know which way it's going, and it's hard to follow. Like when Butterfinger gets shot with those arrows through his chest, that's devastating. Like he turns around, he's like, "Coach, I think they betrayed us." He falls, he's dead. And then you go straight to this weird Looney Tunes fight between James Coburn and Bruce Willis, and it's just unpalatable. And then you add to this the gratuitous swearing in this movie. My goodness, F-bombs aplenty, and we're left scratching our heads. Why work so hard to make this PG-13 movie, and it is a PG-13 idea through and through, into an R-rated movie? The movie decides to bog itself down with these darker elements that do nothing to elevate what could have been a very fun story.
Mr. Smith?
Your Honor, I don't see that the story was not fun. That's exactly what we have here, is a fun movie. It was never meant to be taken seriously. Yes, of course, your scenes of ultraviolence, Bunny being shot out the window, unfortunately for people that don't like animal cruelty, that was still fun.
That's what you're defending. You are here defending animal cruelty, not me.
That dog was a dick and bit him in the scrot.
Hey, that dog was raised wrong. There are no bad dogs. There are just bad masters.
What about Cujo?
Cujo got
that
bat
was a
rabies.
demon-possessed dog.
Yeah,
That's
he got like weird demon bat rabies.
What about Cerberus?
Well, okay, but Cerberus is good at his job, which he was trained to do by... Wait, why am I talking to the jury? Your Honor.
Order in my court. Order in my goddamn court.
It just needs to have been said that this movie was not serious. However, it may have had serious tones. This movie was meant to entertain you.
And it failed.
Lies. Lies, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Schlender, please proceed.
Okay, so I've really only got one last point, because, I mean, I could sit here and nitpick things to death about how things don't make sense and the explosions and the violence and how the CIA people could have done everything that happens in this movie, and Hawk was just a random variable. The only thing he could do was ruin their plans. Anyway, I mean, we did get to see Frank Stallone. He didn't sing Love is Like a Light, so that's definitely a demerit. But let's talk about Frank Stallone, and let's talk about the performances in this movie, because as my esteemed colleague here was saying, he's like, the movie's not taking itself seriously. It's supposed to be fun. And there is a point to that, despite a lot of the serious elements. Is like they are trying to make a comedy. I just don't think it lands very well because so many of the characters are over the top and goofy. Like you have like the Mayflower. I thought they were brother and sister, but I think they're lovers. They could be both. Who knows? They got some creepy vibes. They are so over the top. Bruce Willis and his friend Tommy Five Tones. They're just like constantly bantering back and forth, like quip. It's exhausting. And then Andie MacDowell is actually really subdued, and then she's not able to elevate and rise up to these other goofy characters. So the juxtaposition of all the characters together, it's not fun to watch because you don't really know what anyone's actually doing in the scene. It's just like kind of everyone showed up and it's improv theater. And then we move on to the next scene, again, scratching our heads saying, what's going on? I mean, why are they swearing so much? Why did this guy get a bomb stuck to his head and he blow up? Why is this movie so violent? This movie should be PG-13. What's wrong with you, Bruce Willis?
Mr. Smith?
I believe the answer that you're looking for is you're welcome. That's everything that someone fun could ask for. And,
But
Your Honor,
it's
if I may
not
say,
fun.
in my client's defense, Andie MacDowell was the third choice. So we cannot really take responsibility for that.
Aw.
Wow. The fact that Andie
Poor
MacDowell
Andie
wouldn't be on the top of the list for this movie, that's an insult. Because Andie MacDowell is fantastic, even though she's not great in this movie. Who are the other people, do you know?
Oh, I just had it here. Let me look through my notes.
Well,
Barrymore.
We-
Drew Barrymore, I believe, was 12 at the time.
it's 1991, Ben. Jesus.
Still the first choice. She was a prodigy.
That was Bruce Willis is like, oh no, he wanted Famika Jenkins or Jensen. Is that
Famke Johnson?
Yeah, I mean the super hot chick from Goldeneye, right? Not the super hot chick from
X-Men.
Goldfinger. That's a different one. Yeah, she's
X-Men,
Jean Grey.
too.
Yeah, no, I think he wanted her in this, and she
Please,
screen
she's
tested for
She's
it.
in Men in Black too.
Is she in
Is
Men
she?
in Black as well?
No, that's Linda
Men in-
Fiorentino.
Are you in Men in Black 2?
Oh, and 2? No, that's
No,
Laura
that's,
Flynn Boyle.
Yeah, that's Laura Flynn Boyle,
Oh,
bro.
It's all the
Yeah.
same thing.
I actually, now that the Steam Council brings that up, it was Famika Jensen that he wanted originally because he saw her modeling in like a Polish commercial. And, Bruce Willis is the dog. So he's like, hey, yeah, get that chick on here. His eyes popping out or whatever. And then he blows himself up in a car, but don't worry, he's fine because he had airbags and a sprinkler. I'm going to rest there.
Thank you, Mr. Schlender. Trailing off as always. Mr. Smith, you may proceed with your first exhibit.
I would like to counterpoint that Isabella Rossellini was originally cast for Anna's part. Then Mariska Detmers.
She's great.
Sure. I don't know her either. I maintain this movie was made for a certain audience. That audience may have been Bruce Willis and Danny Aiello. However, it was enjoyable for its audience. My client wishes to apologize to people that expected Die Hard 3 already, which unfortunately just hadn't happened yet. But it was the studios that wanted to make another action flick and label it as an action flick. And this film was mislabeled. People were misled, not by the movie, not by the trailers, not by the actual plot line, which, yes, is goofy. It was misled by the studios for saying, this is another Bruce Willis Die Hard type movie. It was made with the same people, the same writers, same production company. People didn't know what to expect, and they were lied to by the studio, to no fault of my client.
But Bruce Willis, if I could object real quick, Your Honor,
You may.
Bruce Willis is on record saying he was interviewed for 12 Monkeys, a time-traveling feature with Brad Pitt, where he said, if I had a real time machine, I'd go back in time and stop myself from making Hudson Hawk. So clearly he wasn't happy with it either, and you're saying he was the audience. Checkmate, sir.
It's not checkmate. It's at least check.
Okay, maybe it's check, yeah.
Bruce Willis.
I did that thing where you can move the bishop and the rook like side by side. What's that called? Your Honor?
I want to hear
Help
from
me
the
out here.
defense.
Yeah, that makes
Excuse
sense.
me. That's a pun, Your Honor. Puns are not allowed in this court. side by
they're
side.
extremely allowed in this
Movie.
court.
They are.
Since when?
They're very much allowed in this court.
Overruled,
We
Your
boo
Honor.
them. We boo them, but they appear often.
Our
Yeah.
title is Reels of Justice.
It's a pun.
This is a rowdy jury today.
Wait, so that's not how you spell real? Shit.
Those Wheels of Justice.
Jesus.
Mr. Smith, do you have any further exhibits?
I would just like to say that, yes, Bruce Willis didn't like the film after the fact. He was nothing but about the film for years prior. So it was only because of the way that the movie was received, because of the feeling that the audience was left with from the studios, that Bruce Willis felt that way. If they felt that way during the period of time making the movie, none of them would have taken the paycheck.
Well, I'm sure Adam Sandler and his guys have a lot of fun making their movies, and they're still bad. I think you maybe do bring up a good point. Bruce Willis worked in close collaboration with his good friend Robert Kraft. When I saw the credit come up, I was like, holy crap, is that the guy who owns the Patriots? No, it turns out he's some dingy musician from California at the time who would then rise up to become the head of studio music for Sony Studios. So he had a very personal stake in this feature. He had his buddies come on. Him and Danny Aiello were looking to make a movie together for years. And the fact of the matter is he just does not have the creative chops to carry a major feature like this. And it's right there on the screen for everyone to see. It's not well constructed. It's not well crafted. And it's not particularly well acted by anyone. I mean, Bruce Willis is just kind of doing his normal Bruce Willis thing, you know, kind of unfazed and unaffected, but then having these huge emotional outbursts at weird times, you know, like when him and Danny Aiello were like paralyzed on the couch and they're yelling at each other. It's like this isn't funny. That's an objection, kind of.
Sustained.
Long objection.
Sustained, kinda.
Anything further, Mr. Smith?
That's also subjective. That was a lot of fun. It's like watching two old married couples sit there and fight without being able to hit each other.
Old married couples don't usually hit each other.
So apparently you're not married.
No, I am not.
My wife beats me all the time. That judge said she can't be doing that no more, though.
Both sides have rested their cases. The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Mr. Schlender, you may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, we had a lot of fun here in court today. Way more fun than we had watching Hudson Hawk, I'd venture to guess. Am I right, Jerry? But I'll let you talk about that in a little bit in your own time. What we need to look at with this movie is that it is a failure of intentionality, which is something we talk about a lot in this courtroom. Bruce Willis and his buddies wanted to make a movie. They didn't make a very good movie because they couldn't get the tone right between the comedy, between the ultra-violence, between the swearing, between the actual necessity of Hudson Hawk being in the movie. Again, every major action point where he was quote-unquote needed could have easily have been done by other characters, and in a few cases actually was done by the other characters. So then, again, we move on to the performances. This is just not particularly well acted. James Coburn was one of the Magnificent Seven. He was the cool dude who threw his knife. Terrible in this. Very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate to see great actors and actresses, even like Andie MacDowell, be reduced and diminished by this movie. So when you go into the jury, just know that this is what Reels of Justice is all about. We are the final word on a bad movie like Hudson Hawk. Let's bury it and move on and maybe prosecute another Bruce Willis movies like 12 Monkeys. That could be very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schlender. Mr. Smith, please present your closing argument.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have a burden upon yourselves today. You've been given the task of deciding whether or not Hudson Hawk is a bad movie. No one is asking you to say that it is a great or even a good movie. No one would ask you to say that. What you are asked, however, is how did Hudson Hawk make you feel? Can you
Angry.
honestly look within yourselves and say that the movie left you feeling disappointed? The prosecution got laid because of the movie. How disappointing was that?
That's a
Did
point
my
against him, I'm
client
afraid.
feel you leave you feeling bitter? Ask my associate. Does the prosecution feel bitter after that? Look inside yourselves, and I'm sure that the answer will be no. Hudson Hawk did not leave you feeling bad. In fact, it's more likely that my client may have made you laugh a few times and have a good time with it. So again, I ask you this very simple question. Is Hudson Hawk a bad movie? If it made you laugh, if it made you tap your feet, if you didn't turn it off, is it a bad movie? I rest, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to point out that we have to watch the entire movie. It is required by our job.
Yeah.
The whole movie? Are you sure?
Yes.
I'm very
We
sure.
hold the gun to our head until the credits finish.
Believe me, there have been some cases where I would definitely like to turn it off. I was not allowed to. Members of the jury, Mr. Robb Maynard, Mr. Big Ben Haslar, and Mr. I seem to have a thing for sinning Brian Luis Rodriguez. You have all heard the facts concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. The bailiff will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict.
Right this way. While y'all deliberate, I'll just be listening to the Bonnie bass of Loch Lomond. 4 minutes, 40 seconds.
I like to think the bailiff has like a Sony Walkman he puts a tape in, you know?
Well, everyone, how did Hudson Hawk make you feel, Rob?
It was a quick one today. It was a quick one. Yeah, really fast case. I don't know that I got enough information from the defense, really in defense of the film. It was basically that I think his bar for what's not bad is maybe too low, though. Like just not turning things off, or if it made you laugh once. I mean, The Room made me laugh once, and I didn't turn it off. It was still bad.
Oh, I wanted to.
Yeah.
How many times did Hudson Hawk make you laugh?
I probably more than it should have, because I found Bruce Willis to be his usual kind of charming self around that period, and he does have a lot of chemistry with his boy Five Tones.
He also has a very prevalent smirk that I couldn't stand.
But that's very Bruce Willis-y of that time, right? I mean, it's
and that's not a good thing, though.
It's part of his plastic surgery to get it out.
Yeah.
How many times did it make you laugh, Ryan?
0. I don't think I laughed once. I was perversely entertained by it, simply because it was so fucking weird. Like the first time
It's like poking at a jellyfish with a stick.
the first time the F-bomb was dropped, I was like, I really question the logic of making something this goofy R-rated. And I just couldn't believe it as it proceeded, and the violence got increasingly graphic, and I was just like, this is supposed to be for children. This is clearly an adventure comedy for families with this weird dark streak that I just didn't understand.
Right, where he's like getting hit, like, and he's like bending forward and bending back like that. Yeah. That's Looney Tunes. And then other people are getting like bombs on their head and blowing up to a million pieces.
What's the baseline here? Like, whatever.
Yeah, those things do clash. I agree with the prosecution on that gritty ultra violence, and then like Looney Tunes-esque slapstick doesn't work together. They're a total clash of styles. They're very disparate.
But I will give it credit, though. It looks amazing in a way that only super expensive early 90s action movies can.
Well, it's Rome. How do you screw that up?
Yeah.
Ask the Romans.
I mean, I like at its core, it's like a cat burglar who I understand timing your heist to songs, but the fact that he actually was singing them,
sings it out loud.
I
would expect it on a Walkman. Yeah,
like one.
That's a good scene, though. I do like that idea where they're like, in sync that way, and it makes it more lively. Wouldn't you like to be a fish? While they're doing their whole heist.
Yeah, but then they're coming into the room with each other, singing at each other. It's like you can do all the camera stuff you want, but like if someone's belting inside of a museum, guards are going to hear it. That, and you want to hear guards, so going in with a Walkman's a terrible idea too.
Plus the gloves. He needs the gloves.
Yeah.
That bugged me the hell out of me when I saw it.
Yeah.
What about the point of him not being needed in the film? Like, the CIA needing him to do these things and he's not actually needed.
I think it's kind of a coin toss. I'll let Ryan go weigh on it too, but I think it's kind of a coin toss because, as they said, yeah, the CIA could do it too, but they had to kill a bunch of guards. Eventually, stuff like that attracts attention. I don't think they could have done all three of them.
I would say that he's probably less needed than, like, Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, but still, that's not even a question that even popped up in my mind because I was so completely kind of nonplussed by a lot of the experience. But I can't honestly say that I even thought about that.
Yeah, but
I didn't either.
You did say the magic words with Indiana Jones, because that's what it finally felt like to me at the end. I was like, did Bruce Willis want to make Indiana Jones and they wouldn't let him? So he retooled.
Well, I think the obvious answer is yes.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to make Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but he wanted to be the new Indy or something, because that's what it feels like. Because that was what I liked most about
Indiana Jones, Hudson Hawk, even the name of that.
Yes.
You know what he should have done is he should have killed Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
That way he could have been Indiana Jones. It's not that hard.
He tried. But yeah, that was what I thought at the end, because I like the Da Vinci plot that the gems were scattered among the works of art and you have to put them back together. That's cool.
Yeah, I did too.
But everything else
give it
around
credit. It's not as stupid as the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
Well, low bar, but sure.
Yeah, but it's got that idea they're along that similar vein that, like, Da Vinci's arts are all very significant and it's one big puzzle to put together. I liked that, but it is such a good idea that doesn't belong in the rest of this movie. But it's something positive to say. I did like that.
I will give it points for being so goddamn weird. Like, I have to appreciate, as I get older, movies that take a swing, even if they don't make connection with the ball. At least they tried something. And if you look at a lot of
Brothers, right?
if you look at a lot of like action movies now, like Uncharted, which just came out, which I didn't see, but looking at it, it feels like it has very little personality. And even though I didn't like Hudson Hawk, there is personality in it.
So does it have more space in the realm of like a cult classic than a good movie?
See, that's the difficult part, because basically anything can be a cult classic. You don't actually have to be good or have any redeeming value whatsoever to be a cult classic. But this, I mean, we were talking about this before we started recording, but it's been reappraised. It's undergoing kind of a creative renaissance right now that I don't think is earned really within the text of the movie. But it is something to think about. I don't know. I mean, I guess since we're talking about it now, it has elements of cult classic dumb.
I don't know. We talk about lots of stuff, and I don't think it automatically makes it all cult classics. But it's reappraisal.
No, but yeah, I do see articles online about its reappraisal, and people are looking at it now with a more favorable eye than they did at the time.
Which I guess I get in context, I guess. But watching it, I was kind of like, this is the movie that people are now saying is kind of good. Like, it's not, though.
Yeah. I mean, I would have liked to hear more about why I should consider it good, but I mean, it wasn't funny enough to be like, to even describe it as a funny movie to me. It's quirky. That's it. It's kind of quirky.
Yeah, and my biggest problem, though, was that aside for the scene where he's dangling from the ambulance on a gurney, the action isn't terribly compelling or memorable.
Yeah.
I find it really hard in looking back in my memory palace of trying to piece together what I actually remember about this movie, which is very little, to be honest. But I remember very little about basically anything I watch now. But
so many characters.
I'm trying to think of like good action beats beside that ambulance bit, and I can't think of any.
Well, I don't know. I thought the heists were good. Wouldn't You Like to Be a Fish? That first one with the horse was good, and then the one where with the cage was good in the Vatican.
It's not really action.
Well, it's a sequence.
That's a great defense. I'm going to use that from now on. Is it good? Well, it's a sequence.
I mean, yeah, but I think he's saying it's a good scene, but it's not like the action. It's not a good action scene.
Yeah,
but
okay.
yeah. But yeah, anyway, I think deep down there could have been a good idea here, and then I don't know if it got way overwritten or what, but there's way too many characters. The plot doesn't really hold up to scrutiny. There is some charm and, like I said, some quirk to it, but not enough for me to enjoy it. And I usually remember movies pretty well, and a lot of this was really just, it was hard to even keep my attention most of the time. So for me, I'm going to go guilty.
Ryan?
I'm going to go guilty.
All right. Once again, the power is stricken from me. I can't do anything. I also think it's guilty. It's a little disjointed, and it's the reason it's hard to focus and remember things. It's almost sort of like The Rise of Skywalker, where it's just every few minutes you're doing something different. You're focusing on something else, and there's no like cohesion going on as far as what you're rooting for. He just like falls off a ambulance and all of a sudden he's on a date, like within a second, and you just like get all this whiplash of what is going on. It is sort of funny, but not enough. I didn't get enough laughs per minute to make it a successful comedy in my rate. So I also vote guilty. So let's go tell that very handsome judge.
Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. Young Schlender in that theater will be happy to know that we have found the defendant guilty.
The verdict.
Thank you. Yay. All right. Woo.
You lost the
Let's be
notes,
cheering.
didn't you, Ben?
The verdict is so rendered. I hereby sentence Hudson Hawk to 15 years hard time to be served listening to Bruce Willis's album, The Return of Bruno. Court is adjourned.
Oh,
Oh, I feel bad now.
no! What have we done?
Hey, this is Frank Stallone reporting to you live from outside the Reels of Justice. Dylan Schlender, would you please share your thoughts about the jury's verdict?
Oh man, Frank, I gotta say I'm a big fan of yours. Love Is Like a Light is one of my favorite songs, and I really hope people will Google it and listen to it on the YouTube. You know what? This was an interesting day in Reels of Justice because usually we kind of just get assigned cases. Often I'm finding myself prosecuting movies that I like or defending movies that I'm not big on, and I did not like this movie, so I liked prosecuting it. I'm glad that all of us at Reels of Justice agree it's guilty, and I never have to watch this movie again now. This is fantastic, so I'm very happy, and I will tip my hat to the defense. I mean, look, the movie deserves the defense. It deserved its day in court. I think we gave it a fair shake, and I will bid you all adieu.
Oh, sounds good. Hey, Kevin Smith, get over here. Tell me your thoughts about today's verdict.
Frank, it's, these things are a team effort, and, it took the whole team to lose this one today. Again, I don't think that the movie's bad. I think it's a subjective thing. I think, it's a silly movie. It's a fun movie, and, I think maybe even if I just have fun with it, maybe it's a good movie for someone. No, it wasn't.
No.
Well, listen, I'm sorry. This was my 12th case this week. I'm really over it.
Oh, the public
sounds
defender
good.
office.
But that's all the time we have here down at the Reels of Justice. Let's send it back to post-trial analysis in the studio. Oh!
He got more Italian as he went on.
Yeah. I don't know
Dude,
what he sounds like.
That's like what, dude, Frank Stallone songs get more Italian
how's
as
it
they
go?
go.
That's
Frank
Sylvester.
Stallone.
It's closer to Sylvester, I think.
That's Frank.
you gotta
They're the same.
do.
But yeah, no, interesting case, and I'm glad you enjoy the movie, Kevin. There's nothing to say that you can't enjoy bad movies. You can be entertained by bad movies too. And I'd want to correct Dylan too. Just because we find a movie guilty doesn't mean people shouldn't watch it.
No, I said I don't have to watch it.
No, earlier than that, you said we find movies guilty so that people won't have to watch them. You have to watch.
Okay, so people don't watch this movie.
No,
then.
no, watch every movie we do.
We found movies innocent that you should
And
never
watch
watch
every
again.
one of our recommendations as well. You
Yes.
have to.
Yup,
Dark
exactly.
Phoenix was innocent. You should never watch Dark
It was
Phoenix.
not
Never.
innocent. It just wasn't guilty. Very different. I liked that train too. I still like that train.
Ugh.
Oh god.
But yeah, no, this is a weird movie though. I think it didn't know what it wanted to be, and I think that's where things got kind of muddled.
I'm glad the clash of tones resonated with Ryan, and he noticed like the F-bombs. He's like, "Why are you making this movie R?" I noticed that immediately too. I wrote that down. I was like, "That's just,
How could you not?
yeah, it's just it is a bizarre choice. It's like this movie should be PG. It should be a lot of fun."
So, Kevin, what has been keeping you busy lately? What have you been working on?
Working on a new show called Suns and Shadows with my friend Jeff. We've just
It's a
been going
podcast.
at it. Yeah, it's a podcast. What we're watching most of the time is canceled TV shows. So we've done things like the Comedy Central era of Mystery Science Theater. We had Trace and Frank on for that.
I love those guys.
Yeah, they're the best. We just had Steve Wilson on, the writer of Trimmers, Batteries Not Included, and oh gosh, what was the really popular one? Short Circuit. God, how could I forget that? Mr. Blaney was in it.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's responsible for all those, and we just got to interview him, and he is just a gem of a human being.
I love Batteries Not Included.
Great movie.
There's a good wholesome movie.
I don't think I've seen that since it first came out. It is
Not
just
enough
a few
F-bombs
years
in it, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, there are a lot, but not enough for Ryan.
Too many old people, not enough F-bombs.
He had the same problem with Cocoon.
with Cocoon. No, but next up, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be covering the Exorcist franchise. What we've decided recently is there's a lot of TV shows that have gotten canceled that also have a lot of good film franchises that either precede it or come after. You know, like Lethal Weapon. It had a great few movies come before it, and an okay TV series come, much later. But what we're doing next is the Exorcist franchise. We're going to start with the movies this weekend. I'm going to be broadcasting from the Wolf Creek Inn, which is listed as the #1 haunted place in Oregon.
Cool.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you believe in that sort of thing, I'm going to walk right into the lion's den and poke it this weekend.
Awesome.
Come on, haunt me. Come on.
Yeah.
Do a haunt.
Why aren't you haunting me? God, you're so mean.
Well, there are a lot of points of like trying to provoke the spirits. You're going to provoke them.
Yeah, like imitating Peter Lorre.
Simply by being there. Simply by being there,
Although
like
that was
I'm
cut.
offensive enough that the ghosts are probably just gonna be like, start shaking everything. Get out!
Now, is there a particular ghost legend, like something you should be looking out for? Like you see a lady in the mirror or something? So, like, are you looking for something specific?
Yeah, so hear me out on this one. This
Sure.
is funny. I believe in ghosts. I grew up in a town called San Juan Bautista in Central California. It's very haunted. So I do have that bias that I believe in ghosts. But this place has a legend of a vampire.
Hey, now.
Vampires, people. People have said that they've seen like a little girl walking around, that they hear voices, the normal things like that, things
Yes.
brushing up against them, all of which normally can be explained. And that's one of the things I'm going to do this weekend, because I'm also going to be filming a little documentary as well, I guess.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
So, because I mean, I go through things from a scientific point of view, not a hope point of view. Your average ghost hunter, they go on hope. They come around with an electromagnetic field detector, like it's a PKE meter from
Right.
Ghostbusters.
It's parked a bit right next to this fuse box. There must be a ghost in the room.
Exactly. Those
Well,
are also
usually-
metal detectors, and you're walking over a building or over a building that has a basement that has all these heater ducts underneath it. No shit, you're
The door
walking.
closed by itself when the vent turned on. Oh, wow.
I don't know. Most
Yeah.
of the shows I've seen, that's exactly the kind of stuff they do. They do usually debunk if they go in with the
Ghost Hunters was good about that.
Yeah, Ghost Hunters was real good about like trying to find the baselines and trying to find the sources to create fear cages. I haven't really watched any others. I know Kevin's got beef with the Ghost Adventures.
Oh yeah, they're getting hit this weekend. I promise you that.
Now, Kevin, everyone wants to know, have you seen a ghost?
Yes, several times. I don't remember the first time. I was probably really little and just didn't understand it. I always remember just feeling like people were staring down at me in my bed. I've seen shadows move downstairs. My friend Duke's house growing up, the first time I saw Exorcist 3 there, we had this horrible experience. My two best friends and I were sitting there watching The Exorcist. The movie ends, and it ends with this beautiful like hymn. After all this horrible shit you see, it ends with this beautiful hymn, and we turn off the movie, and a radio starts down in his basement, and then the door slams.
Whoa! What?
No one else was awake. His mom and dad were asleep, and we were all upstairs. There was no one else in the house. I shit you not. And
All right,
so it's like
that's heavy.
me and two ginormous Mexican guys were all huddled together like three little scared girls with one blanket on the fucking on the floor.
I know most people who watch Exorcist 3 claim they have a really bad experience.
Oh, that's a completely very misunderstood movie.
I like it.
Exorcist 3 is the good one, right? That's got George C. Scott.
No,
And,
The
like,
Exorcist is the good one.
and then it's got like the creepy nurse stabby scene, right? That's The
Yes.
Exorcist 3. Yeah, no, that one's good. No, the first was the best, Maynard, of course. But Exorcist 3 is no slouch.
Yeah.
You're
and
thinking of Poltergeist 3.
even part. Oh God, yeah. Tom Scared, baby.
Oh God,
Oh
numerous issues.
I think
with
there's
that.
a TV show, Poltergeist, too, isn't there?
yes, there is, and we've
Alright.
talked about doing that, but I
Well,
don't
now you have to.
know.
Not yet.
I
Yeah,
don't know
cue
that's
it up,
actually
baby.
involved. Like, I would love to do the first two Poltergeist movies, but
I mean,
I-
we know who's not involved.
Steven Spielberg.
No, the famous big guy that were attached.
I think he was talking about Heather O'Rourke and God,
It
what's the
was
other?
It was a bad joke. It was a bad
No, it was a good one. I got it.
joke.
But
No,
yeah, it'll probably. I think you're going this weekend as of recording. Probably this'll. By the time this airs, that'll already have been out probably for a few weeks. So people can go check it out. But where do they check you out?
At sunsandshadows.com. You could always check us out there. We are at Suns and Shadows on Twitter. And as far as downloading the podcast, we are everywhere that you get your podcasts.
All right, good. So wherever you're getting this podcast, you can get that podcast.
Yeah, we're all on this. I listen to both of us on Spotify.
They were neighbors.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Us and the other 2 million podcasts that are out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, listen
We're on
to
the good
It's a
side of
big
the
walk.
fence.
Well, the alphabetical order. We both come up pretty close.
Exactly. Now, we always ask for a recommendation from our guests for movies that you think people should check out. So what is a movie our listeners should check out?
So I want everyone to go ahead and watch a couple Exorcist movies just to see what those are like. If you haven't caught them already, if you haven't seen 3, watch it. It's a good follow-up to the first one. If you haven't seen 4, watch it just because it's really fun and violent and Nazis die. So otherwise,
I'm sold.
stay away from part 2. If you want to watch a good sequel to The Exorcist, watch Repossessed with Linda Blair and Leslie Nielsen.
That is a good one.
So can I go from 1 to 3 without missing a beat?
Yes.
Is there
Yes.
stuff I need to know.
Absolutely, because 3 is actually the only sequel to the written book. 3 was called Legion when William Peter Blatty wrote it. So all the characters are the same. The cop from the first Exorcist movie is played by George C. Scott, and the priest that survives the movie, Damien's friend, is also in the movie. So after Damien dies, those two become good friends.
And watch the director's cut. The director's cut is awesome.
Yes. Yeah, no, the Exorcist 3 is a really good recommendation, actually. Yeah, that's a good movie.
Yeah, it'll
Yes.
leave you with a little bit of chills, and it's gross. And the star of the movie is Brad Dourif. I just have to say that.
Oh,
He is-
yeah.
Oh, Brad
He's-
Dourif is so good.
he's
I have
He's
a
a
great in
good
everything.
star of
I love
everything
that guy.
that he's in.
Yeah, he's
His
just so good.
monologue is just so powerful. It gives you goosebumps. Like I don't want to ever meet this person.
Yeah, no, you totally
yet
buy
we
it.
do.
Like he's like crazy, right? He's like he's got it bad.
Oh yeah, he even says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was raving. I'm mad to know." Like, sorry, my bad. I was doing it again.
I haven't seen it. I need to. I've kind of stayed away because I've heard the sequel is so bad, Exorcist 2.
Yeah. If you skip 2, there's a nice progression from 1 to 3.
Yes.
See, I don't know if I
Okay.
remember 3, but I did see 2, and I don't remember a lot about it. I remember
Lucky
flying
Man,
on a
or Lucky
demon.
Man.
Locusts.
Hey, I think we
Yes.
gotta do 2 on the show then. Let's,
James Earl Jones dressed as a grasshopper.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
But at least they talk about Pazuzu a lot more. I do like Pazuzu, so.
You went
Isn't that
Grateful
Professor
Dead way.
Farnsworth's demon in Futurama?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but that's from The Exorcist. I mean, that's the.
And
that's
they
the
got it from
demon's name.
Futurama. No, that makes sense. I got you.
No, Futurama did it first.
No,
It was later.
no. That is, of course, what Schlenzo thinks. So
Time travel.
Whatever I saw first is the first thing that did it.
exactly.
Thank you, Ben.
Schlenzo, what is your recommendation?
All right, I'm going to recommend a movie about another career criminal. And one of my favorite tropes in crime movies is the character of a standover. And what a standover is a criminal who robs other criminals. And the best example of that you will find is 1999's Payback, starring Mel Gibson. This movie has it all. It's got action, it's got sex, and it has James Coburn in a much, much better role. Decidedly less sexy, though, but he's much funnier in Payback. So Mel Gibson, he gets out of jail. He's got crooked cops on him. He's got his buddy who threw him into jail, and he's trying to get payback on everyone. Action ensues. This is one of those movies that I could watch anytime, any place, anywhere. It's just so good.
Now, have you seen
But
the
it won't get you
director's
late
cut?
in the movie theater, right?
Avoid the director's cut like the plague.
Yes, I prefer whichever was the $5 Walmart
The theatrical. That's the
cardboard
theatrical.
back one. Yeah, that's the one you want.
Ryan, you like the director's cut?
I haven't seen it in years, but I remember enjoying it more than the original.
Oh, no, not at all. I felt the opposite because Payback's one of my favorite movies. So then I watched the theatrical cut. It's got a nickname. Yeah. It's like Payback straight up. And they eliminate Chris Christopherson's entire character. And like, so the League of the Evil Organization is like just a voice on the phone that I don't think you.
When they say cut, they weren't kidding, right?
Yeah. Well, I think what happened is straight up. I think was the original cut of the film, and then they recut it. So what the theatrical is actually like the update, and that's when they added like Chris Christopherson in and all the subplot of the son they kidnap and everything.
Well, do you know who directed the extra sequences of Payback?
I don't.
Mel Gibson's hairdresser.
Oh, they did all right then.
Hey, good for them.
But fun fact, his hairdresser is Steven Spielberg. So
yes, but he didn't use his name.
right.
Oh, classic.
No, I mean, but that's interesting though, because if you do want a movie that's where a director's cut is a huge departure from the other one, Payback's a great example
and Warriors, the Warriors director's cut.
Oh, the director's cut sucks of the Warriors.
Terrible.
Fuck that movie. Oh
my god,
hate it.
And listen, Walter Hill who did that, right? And he's great, but like Jesus Christ,
never let him touch 48 Hours. I don't want to see what happens to that movie.
Yes, thank you. No, thank you.
All right, now Ryan, what's your recommendation? 48 Hours. Oh, no.
Yet again, my recommendation this week has nothing to do with this week's case. It's just something that I recently loved, and that is 2021's The Worst Person in the World. One of my very favorite
it's a movie about
released. Yes, exactly. One of my very favorite films released in the past year. It is a postmodern romantic dramedy that manages to tell a thrillingly human story that I could have easily watched for another couple hours. In fact, when it concluded, I was genuinely sad that I had to leave the theater and move on. It was a bummer. It's currently in release as we record this, but maybe by the time this episode drops, it'll be streaming. It is a neon release, so keep your eyes peeled to Hulu.
You should do what I did when Inception came out. I walked right out of the theater, bought a ticket, went right back in.
Well, I had other movies to watch. I couldn't do that, but I would have. If I could have.
Ryan watches movies, so.
That is true. I saw Black Panther twice back to back. But only because two separate groups of people bought me tickets.
I had the same issue with Iron Man 3, unfortunately. It wasn't as good as Black Panther.
Yeah, Iron Man 3, I probably wouldn't have stuck out for another one.
I would have. Oh, shit. I would have watched that twice.
In all fairness,
yeah, it's your
the same
favorite
thing
Christmas
happened
movie.
to me.
I did. It doesn't live up to your fantasy, Ryan. I'm just telling you.
What happened with you, Kevin?
I got stuck with Terminator 3 for that.
Oh, we like Terminator 3. Not guilty.
That's
not guilty.
No, really?
So
its ending was good.
So was Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, but Terminator 3 had you voted not guilty as well.
Terminator 3 had a good ending.
I also voted not guilty for Dark Phoenix.
Sure, you're not always right, Ryan. That's
We're not sure Ryan's on his
how it works.
meds before he gets in the jury.
Exactly. Big Ben, what have you got for us?
Well, I think Hudson Hawk is a movie made for the wrong reasons, which is as a vanity project. I'm going to recommend a film that's making films for the right reasons, and it's another one I caught during the Japanese Film Festival, and recommend. It's a summer film. It's sort of like.
Yeah, but what's the
first 10
name
minutes.
of it?
It's a summer film.
Yes, but what's the title?
It's a summer film.
But what's it called, Ben?
I think that bit's running a little dry now.
That's about right.
Third base.
It's sort of. This movie is sort of like the first 10 minutes of Bill and Ted before they start the time traveling, and instead focuses on a person from the future coming back to encourage a young director to finish her first film, because in the future she becomes a great director of cinema and it's dying in his time. It's about the growing of talent, the teamwork involved, pushing yourself to be better than your rivals, and the love of how film tells a story in the visual medium. It makes me want to jump right into a marathon of samurai films, because that's the kind of film she's making in the movie. It's another film that would be very hard to track down outside of a festival, but I like to imagine I have a greatest fan out there somewhere who's just, really trying to watch every one of my recommendations, and I want to give them a challenge. So this one's for you.
Challenge accepted.
Kaylee.
Super fan. Actually, Ben, that sounds really good, though.
That's a really good recommendation. I'd like to watch that movie, but you got to tell me the title of it.
It's a summer film.
Well,
I can watch it whenever I want.
Stop being so oblique, Ben. For God's sake, tell us the name of the movie.
You can watch it at all hours of the day, but it is a summer film.
Or all seasons of the year, you mean, right?
Right.
All right, Maynard, send us home, baby.
I'll send us on home. I'm recommending another fun adventure movie, but it actually was fun. And I saw it recently, and that's The Kingsman from 2021, starring Ralph Fiennes. This prequel is the third movie in the franchise and explores the founding of the secret spy organization, Kingsman. This was the first film in the series I'd seen, though, and I don't know if I'd care for the others because of the charm of this film was the period it takes place in. It's set in World War I. It incorporates fictionalized kind of celebrity characters from that period, fictionalized versions of events like how World War I started, and some awesome trench warfare sequences, too. One highlight of the film was English actor Tom Hollander, who played three of the most significant leaders at the time, King George, Kaiser Wilhelm, and Tsar Nicholas, who were all actually cousins, which I did not know. So I liked how the film blended elements of real history with complete bullshit and brewed the two together into a really entertaining adventure story. The Kingsman is currently streaming on HBO Max and Hulu.
Fantastic recommendation. I endorse it 100%. It was great.
Yeah, and we liked Rasputin, too.
Oh, yeah, no, we had a lot of fun watching
Put Rasputin in any movie. I have not seen a bad movie with Rasputin in it yet.
Man, you are
Toy
right.
Story 4, Rasputin in that? That works?
Yeah, but I liked Toy Story 4, Ryan. Remember, he was Forky. And with that, we are all out of show, but we want to thank our guest, Kevin Smith, for joining us. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you guys for having me. It was a blast finally to be able to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, totally. We'll have you back, too, as long as you survive your spooky weekend. and you don't get, I don't know, vampired, or whatever they do.
Well, apparently, it's like this, there's this thing that, has attacked people, and it's like, you realize this is Southern Oregon. It was probably just a tweaker.
Yeah. No, it was the living dead. Yeah, a tweaker.
Yeah, no, it's a tweaker.
It's a summer film.
Oh, it's a summer film. Oh, got it. Anyway, we hope everyone will join us again as well as the Reels of Justice keep turning.
Count it.
Da Vinci!
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.